TFI International, their latest earnings report. It's like, are they at a crossroads?
Right.
We're really digging into their Q3 2024 numbers today. And, well, let me tell you, it's not just about the numbers on the page, not even close.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
This report, it's like a roadmap of big moves and, those potential potholes they got to watch out for.
Exactly. And to help us navigate this whole thing, we've got expert speaker with us today. And let me tell you, this expert can spot a trend in a stack of spreadsheets faster than a trucker can find a coffee stop at 2:00 a.m.
Happy to be here.
So right off the bat, this dividend increase, 13%, jumped out at me. They bumped it to $0.45 a share. That's a pretty gutsy move in this economy, don't you think? What are they trying to tell their investors?
Oh, it definitely says they're feeling pretty good about their future profits, that's for sure. I mean, most companies are barely touching their dividends with everything going on, right? So this increase, it's a big sign, like a flashing neon sign, telling investors they're confident in their growth plan.
And a huge part of that plan, it seems like, is buying up everything they can get their hands on. 10 acquisitions this year alone. Are they kidding? It's like they're on a shopping spree.
The old strategy. Got to give them that. But it shows you how much they want to really cement their spot in the North American market. Like that TSX deal, boom.
Yeah.
Instant major player in the specialized transport game.
I felt that one. Like the whole industry felt that one. But are they getting in over their heads? I mean, 10 acquisitions, that's a lot to handle, even for a company like TFI.
$1 million question right there.
Yeah.
It's a gamble, that's for sure. On the one hand, they're snapping up companies with years of experience, their own customers, the whole package. But, there's always the flip side, right? What if they can't make it all work together? Culture clashes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, walking a tightrope, that's for sure. And speaking of tightropes, they've been making some, let's say, interesting moves with their workforce, too. Over 2,200 new employees, mainly from these acquisitions, which makes sense. But get this, they've also reduced their workforce, over 2,700 employees, through, and I quote, rationalizations.
So they're shuffling the deck.
Yeah.
Streamlining, making things more efficient, probably getting ready for the next big growth spurt. Definitely preparing for something big.
So they're playing chess while everyone else is playing, checkers, trying to stay one step ahead. But look, they're not operating in a bubble, right? COVID, it's still messing things up, even in 24. And their report even mentions some legal stuff, potential issues related to those pandemic mandates. Remember those?
It just goes to show, even when you're moving real-world stuff, that pandemic world, it still's got its claws and everything. The legal stuff, they're mainly talking about the vaccine mandate stuff, which is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, I'm no lawyer, but that sounds like a minefield, legally speaking. What kind of problems are they looking at?
Well, you could have employees who felt pressured to get vaccinated, even if they didn't want to, and they might sue. It's a tricky situation. Employee rights versus, public health, and the courts are still figuring all that out.
So choppy waters all around,
Yeah.
legally speaking. And they're doing this while trying to absorb all these new companies, plus everything's different in the workplace now. It's a lot.
Tell me about it. And don't even get me started on the regulations in the trucking industry. Fuel efficiency, safety ratings, California's labor laws. It's enough to make anyone's head spin.
Oh, and speaking of California, they specifically mentioned how tough their wage and hour laws are. Remember that court case? They tried to make their laws apply to any trucker just passing through, not just California-based drivers. Wild, right?
Oh yeah, the California trucking showdown. Big case, that one. The
Wow.
FMCSA had to step in and say, nope, federal law wins when it comes to interstate trucking. Common sense prevailed.
Thank goodness. Can you imagine if every state had its own trucking rules? What a mess.
Total chaos. But even the FMCSA, their decisions have huge ripple effects for TFI. Like when they changed those hours of service rules. How long drivers can drive. That was a big deal.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was supposed to give drivers more flexibility, but a lot of people were worried about, driver fatigue and safety.
Exactly. It's always a balancing act. TFI, just like any other trucking company, they have to roll with these changes and still, stay competitive. It's a tough business.
It's like, I don't know, solving a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle.
Yeah.
Sounds impossible.
Pretty much. And if that wasn't enough, you've got this whole independent contractor debate.
Yeah.
That was a nail biter for the entire industry, not just TFI.
All right, give it to me straight. What's going on there? What's the big deal?
Okay, so a lot of trucking companies, TFI included, they use a ton of independent contractors.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this whole legal battle brewing, right? Are these drivers really contractors or are they employees? And if they're forced to make them employees, well, that's going to cost a lot of money.
We're talking Payroll taxes, benefits, maybe even back pay, right? The whole shebang could completely change how they do business.
You got it. It's a huge legal fight happening all over, and whatever the courts decide, it's going to shake up the entire industry. Big time.
Okay, so we've got acquisitions, workforce changes, legal headaches, the pandemic's not over, and the rules keep changing. How are they making any money with all this going on?
Well, it's like you said, a whole lot to juggle, that's for sure. But they talk about this disciplined approach to operations. It's like their mantra. And you can see it, how they're all about efficiency, keeping costs down, making smart choices, even with everything going on.
Okay, so what does that look like in the real world? Give me an example. How are they actually doing that?
Well, look at their acquisitions, right?
Yeah.
They're not just buying random companies for the fun of it. They're looking for companies that fit in, that can, like, plug the holes in their network and bring something new to the table that works with what they've already got going on.
So not just getting bigger, getting better, smarter. I like that.
Exactly. Strategic, right. They're playing chess, not checkers. And they're not afraid of technology either. They're all over those electronic logging devices, GPS, route optimization software, the whole 9 yards.
Bringing trucking into the future. But you need people to drive those trucks, right? What about the drivers? How are they dealing with the driver shortage? Everyone's looking for drivers these days.
It's huge, driver retention. And they get that. Sure, they're offering competitive pay, good benefits, that's a given. But they're also, like, really working on their company culture, making it a place where drivers want to be. You know, safety, professionalism, treating drivers well, it all matters. And they're putting their money where their mouth is, investing in training programs to bring new drivers into the fold. It's about the long game, building a workforce for the future.
Can't argue with that, that's for sure. The best trucks in the world aren't going anywhere without drivers. But we gotta be real, right? TFI's in business to make money. How are they staying ahead of the competition in such a tough industry?
Playing the long game, remember. We talked about the acquisitions, the efficiency thing, but they're also laser focused on pricing and costs. Always analyzing the market, squeezing out the best deals for themselves, finding creative ways to cut expenses, but not sacrificing quality.
So they're watching every penny, getting the most out of everything, and still keeping an eye on the big picture. Sounds like they're trying to outmaneuver, outsmart, and outlast the competition all at the same time.
That's the game, isn't it? High stakes. And they're playing it smart, bold moves when they need to be bold, careful when they need to be careful. They're not just reacting to what's happening now, they're trying to figure out what's next. Be ready for it.
Which brings us back to that dividend increase. They're putting their money where their mouth is, showing investors they believe in their own future. But let's be real, there are always risks. What could trip them up? What are the potential problems?
We've talked about some of the big ones, right? All those regulations, the independent contractor situation, the pandemic fallout. But then there's the economy, the whole big picture. Inflation, interest rates, what people are buying, that all trickles down to the trucking industry.
Oh, and don't forget, global instability, supply chain problems, and fuel prices. Will they ever go down?
Exactly. It's like a roller coaster out there, always changing, and TFI, they've got to be ready to swerve and dodge and adapt. But they've been doing it so far, haven't they? I mean, they survived the pandemic. They even did well during it. They're a resilient bunch, that's for sure.
That's true. But before we get too excited, we need to make sure we're not missing anything important.
Good point. Easy to get distracted by the shiny new acquisitions, the dividends, all that. But their report, it highlights something crucial. TFI, they're not just a trucking company. They're like a logistics empire.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We barely even mentioned the LTL shipping, the specialized transport, logistics, warehousing. They do it all. They do everything.
They're not just moving stuff from A to B. They're running the whole show. They've got this huge network of technology, and they know their stuff. They're creating a whole system.
So, like, they're the Amazon of trucking, but instead of bringing you your latest online shopping spree, they're bringing, well, everything, everywhere.
Exactly. That's the goal, right? That same level of, like, I don't know, domination, efficiency, moving anything, anywhere smoothly.
That's a big goal, and we've talked about the challenges. They're definitely there. But they're strategic, they're disciplined, they're not afraid to try new things. I wouldn't bet against them, would you?
Me neither. They take risks,
Yeah.
but they're thinking long-term, investing in their future,
Yeah.
adapting, evolving, whatever you want to call it. They're setting themselves up to be major players for years to come.
Sounds like a recipe for success to me. But before we wrap up this deep dive on TFI International, you mentioned the trucking industry being at a crossroads. Can you say more about that? What are the big questions, the big problems, the big opportunities that are shaping the future of trucking? What's next for this industry?
It really is a perfect storm, Challenges on one side, opportunities on the other. Like we're talking about a tech revolution here, right? Electric trucks, self-driving trucks, and all this new logistics tech. It's going to change everything.
It's like the whole industry is about to level up, but those changes, they always come with uncertainty. What are the bigwigs worried about? What's keeping them up at night?
I think a lot of it is like, how fast is this all happening? Electric trucks, they're getting there, but you need the infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Charging stations everywhere. And the self-driving thing, the tech's moving faster than the rules can keep up. Plus, not everyone's ready to trust a computer to drive an 18-wheeler.
Yeah, it's like everyone's lined up for the race, but they're still arguing about the rules. So, where does TFI fit into this? Are they jumping in with both feet or are they playing it safe?
They're being smart about it, I think. Testing the waters, they're trying things out, but they're also watching the bottom line. Like I know they've been trying out electric trucks on some routes and talking to some of these tech companies, the ones developing the self-driving systems.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, which is probably a good thing. But what about the planet? The trucking industry, it's not exactly known for being green, right?
It's a big deal now, sustainability. And TFI gets that. They're making changes, trying to lighten their impact. Fuel-efficient trucks, finding the best routes, even looking at different kinds of fuel like biodiesel, stuff like that.
It's good to hear them taking it seriously. But it's not just about being good, right? It's about the rules, the regulations. Governments are cracking down on pollution. And the companies that don't keep up, they're going to be in trouble.
Exactly. It's not just about looking good, it's about staying in the game. TFI seems to get that. But like we said, they've got their work cut out for them, right? The contractor thing, the regulations always changing. Who knows what's going to happen with the economy?
It's a lot trying to handle all that while still looking ahead, planning for the future. So, big picture time. What do you think about TFI's overall strategy? Do you think they're making the right moves? Can they win in this new world of trucking?
Well, when you put it all together, right? The acquisitions, how they're changing their workforce, the technology, the sustainability stuff, it paints a picture, doesn't it? They're not just playing checkers, they're playing chess. And everyone else is still figuring out the rules.
Like they're playing 3D chess and everyone else is stuck in 2 dimensions. They're way ahead thinking about what's next, not just what's happening right now.
Exactly. They don't just want to be the biggest, they want to be the best. The most adaptable, the most innovative, the toughest. They're building a company that's not just going to survive, it's going to thrive, even with all the uncertainty out there.
That's a big goal, no doubt. But if their earnings report is anything to go by, they're off to a good start, that's for sure. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of the road for our deep dive into TFI International, at least for today. We covered a ton today, from those juicy dividends to the tech revolution that's about to transform trucking as we know it. One thing's for sure, TFI is not standing still, and we'll be watching closely to see what they do next. But here's something to think about. The trucking industry, it's like a canary in the coal mine for the economy. And if TFI is doing well, maybe, just maybe, things are looking up for everyone. Until next time, thanks for listening.